In this use case, we want to break down something that is fairly common amongst other mid-market companies that we see. We've actually solved this problem quite a few times, not just for this client, but for other clients of ours. So we wanted to just share because it is relatable. Most likely you would see something similar inside of your business. So it's a quick win for everybody. And we're actually going to take the time to walk you through the exact problem they had, the pain points that they saw specifically for their business, the financial and time impact that you see here, which was massive on both sides. The solution, like I mentioned, we're going to walk you through step by step how we solved this problem and what that problem looked like for us to be able to put some automation in place on the Salesforce side, the screenshots of what that problem and solution looked like, and then again, just a recap on the overall improvement they saw after we were done. So jumping right into it, you can see up here, this was a massive cost reduction for these guys. And this isn't unique. This is actually pretty common that we see when we do this specific solution. This is affecting the customer service department. And for a mid-market company, 100 to 300 employees or so, you're probably sitting around 8 to 15 people, even sometimes more if you're closer to that 300 mark, sitting in your customer service side. So if the problem's happening for one person, well, you times that by however many people are in that department. So if it's a big department or there's a lot of people doing it or it's company-wide type of problem, which this one is, then it's going to be a massive amount of money that you guys are spending or wasting every single year. And then better than all of that, I would say, is that on our side, we've done this so many times that we can actually do this really quickly. We have pretty much a blueprint at this point of how we would actually approach these types of problems. We obviously tailor them to every business and specific to what they need. But again, we have the overall blueprint. So it's a really, really quick win for the business when we come in here and do this. In this case, 7 days. So if you hired somebody, whenever I hire someone, that's like the number one thing I want. I want obviously a ton of money saved or a ton of money made. And then I want to see an impact almost immediately, right? Like the longer I have to wait for the impact to be seen, the less likely I want to do the deal. I almost want that immediately as soon as they start. So that's something you would see. This is a week or less that we can easily do something like this because we just know exactly where to look for these types of problems. Okay, so let's jump into what was the specific problem for this client. They are a mid-market company, as I mentioned. At this stage of the business, they were at 139 for employees. And then they had on their side about 11 of those 139 people were sitting in the customer service role. Okay, main problem here is they were spending 10 minutes per case just looking for information. So what does that mean? Well, they're looking for information in different spots inside of Salesforce. So somebody opens up a case, whether that's a new client or an old client. They have some kind of problem, okay? They open that case, and when they go to that case inside of Salesforce, there's a bunch of fields in there, as you know, and they didn't have fields in there that told them all the information that they needed to know. So what did they do? Well, they're thinking things through as they should, and they're trying to figure out where to go and find that information. So if we take the example of somebody creates a new case, it comes into me, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I need context for what this thing's even about. Is this a new problem? Is this an old problem? Is this something to do with like an outdated product we sold them? Is this something to do with a new product that we just launched on the market? Is this a problematic customer in general? Is this the first time they've ever reached out to us? Do they even have a product with us? Is this something that maybe they were just excited to do business with us and they want to know more information about? Or maybe it's none of that. Maybe it's actually just an internal ticket. Maybe it's somebody in a different department and it needs to be routed to a different person. So there's all these kinds of questions that you need to know to solve that particular case that gets opened. And that kind of information wasn't all centralized in one spot. In other words, right, it's in the account, it's in the opportunity, it's in the lead, it's in all these different places inside of Salesforce that they had to manually get out of the case, go click into the account, look through the account. Okay, are they problematic? Do they have, some kind of note I need to be aware of on here? Did the sales rep speak to them recently? Is this like the 5th ticket they've created for this thing? Is this the first ticket they've created for this thing? All these questions are going to be going through their head that they're looking for when they go to these different places. Okay. And that's fine. And that's great that at least the positive here, the silver lining is that you guys, and in this case too, they were capturing it inside of Salesforce. So the information existed. So that is a big win. But the next part that you want to optimize is it's not in a place for me to just click into the case and bam, here's all the information that I need to know. I can solve this case without really having to click anywhere. The less you can click, the better, right? The more you can keep them in that one spot, the better it is for them. So 10 minutes per case, literally just hunting down information inside of Salesforce. So in other words, a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted money. The pain they specifically saw, cases took longer to solve. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you're spending 10 minutes per case, obviously it's going to take longer to get back to the customer themselves to solve that. But it does do a domino effect as well. So in some unfortunate cases, we've seen it go down this path by the time we were brought in. But what you'll see a lot of times is if the cases take longer, you're going to have unhappy customers. I don't know any person in the world, especially with how quick things get solved nowadays, of being able to wait a long time for you to be able to get your problem solved, right? If you have some kind of issue with whatever product you bought, you want that solved almost immediately so you no longer have that pain. So longer cases, unhappy customers. Unhappy customers get you bad reviews. Bad reviews online, as we all know, it leads to stop making money. People have a bad idea of who you are. You have a bad reputation. Sounds like you're a sketchy company. So this really leads to the last part, which is you stop making money. And if you stop making money, you go out of business, right? So the crazy part with anything to do with the customer service side is it can go down this path very quickly, and they are quite literally interacting with your clientele. So you want to make sure that you solve this well and you solve it quickly for them. Other side over here, right, you see productivity is going to go down because, again, take them longer to solve that case. Employee churn can go up. Employee churn is if I apply for this customer service job and I expect XYZ and it's a lot harder than that, or I don't have the tools to do my job, well, I'm going to go look for a job that does have that for me, right? So the employees themselves, morale is going to go down. You can lose people inside. It has its own problems, right? How long does it take you to train someone to do this job? How long does it take your manager to do that? Take time out of their day to hire and find somebody that's qualified for the job, right? So there's time that you're spending there. Bad ROI on Salesforce, just meaning Salesforce, a lot of the times we think as the customers, when you buy this, it just doesn't do it or it doesn't work that way. That happens a lot, and that's a conversation we have a lot. And so they think, wow, okay, I spent all this money on Salesforce to do all these things and it doesn't even do it. Reality is it does. They just don't know all the capabilities. So you're not spending your money wisely here because, again, the potential is not being used. You can do that thing in Salesforce. You just maybe don't know how, or you're not aware that it can. So bad ROI, we want to make sure that whatever you bought in Salesforce works the way that you want it to work. High operational costs, potential security concerns. This one doesn't happen often, but from time to time, if there is information that that person that has the case open is looking for, sometimes when you're looking around, you can get into places that maybe you shouldn't be looking, or, you know, it's sensitive information for managers. That could be like health information if you're a health company. That could be financial information. In this case, this is a financial services company, so might have social securities and things like that that you might not want to see. So in some cases, right, to get to that information that they needed to see, it wasn't always the most secure spot. So just making sure it's locked down and it's good for everybody. That's also a good win here that you can see. So the impact, this is really what you want to figure out first. And the main reason for that is this prioritizes the entire ticket. Okay. If it's low impact on the money or low impact on the time, why would you even do it? Right? It's pointless to even do it. So you want to make sure that this is going to save you a lot of money and it's going to save you a lot of time. It's what any business wants to do. So how we come up with this is we spend some time, you're going to learn here in just a sec, but we spend some time with that service department, so customer service. We're going to sit down with them. We're going to monitor what their actual workflow is. So Susan opens a ticket. You know, what are the steps you go through to solve that ticket? And are any of those steps repeatable? We want to figure that stuff out. So once we figure that out, we can get a better idea using these numbers, how to come up with how much this is going to save you. So 11 customer service reps, they're getting paid around $38,000 a year here in the US. That's around $18, almost $19 an hour. And then over here on the time side, before you get to those grand finales, you have, again, 11 customer service reps. Daily, again, 10 minutes per case. The amount of cases they were getting, that led up to an hour and a half every single day per person just spending time researching inside of Salesforce. So using these numbers, we can do this awesome math to let you know potentially what you can save. Or in our case here, this is specifically what they saved. You can see it's a very specific number of what they saved. $79,000 plus to be able to solve this problem. And then 110 working days. That's insane when you think a quarter of your business is like 90 days, so a little more than that. that is spent just researching info inside of Salesforce. Even if you didn't know the impact and you just knew this in itself would make you want to solve this problem. That's crazy to think what you could do with that kind of time back in your business, 110 working days, if you just employed that in the right places, right? Not looking for information, clicking around. So huge amount of time, huge amount of cost savings that we see here. Cool. That's great. What did you guys actually do about it? Tell us how you actually built it. Okay. I'll kind of fly through this because I mentioned it, some of it, but we have a very specific process that we like to follow. And the reason for that is it's proof tested. In other words, we've done this with a ton of different clients and it's worked every time. And it gives us all a bunch of confidence that what we're building is the right solution for you. So our main thing here is that everybody is different. Every business is different. We want to tailor it to your specific business and the specific solution to your specific business. So how do we do that? Well, we start off with this discovery. In this specific case, a nice one to do is you would look at a problem that is either affecting your entire company or just a specific big department. In our case, 11 people on that customer service side. That's a big department for us for this size of a business. So let's start there, right? Like what kind of problems do they have? Because whatever we solve, you can times it by the amount of people that work inside of that department. So 11 different people times it by 11. So what we do is we sit with them, we monitor that process. What does Susan do, like I mentioned, to solve that case as it goes down? And then more importantly, is it repeatable? Does Susan do the same steps every single time? If yes, that means we can automate it. That means we can solve this problem. If it's different every single time, it's difficult to solve that problem because it always changes, right? But if it is repeatable, that means we can go in there and create automation for it. So that leads us to building this out. So how did we build this out? Well, in this case, we created a field that you can see right here. This field here, what this would do for this specific case, what they wanted to see were some of the last interactions that people on different departments had with their customers. So if Jordan, as an example here, goes in and speaks to this customer as a sales guy, well, what did Jordan talk about, right? What was that interaction like? What kind of note did Jordan leave on the opportunity? Then in this case, Bethany, she gets in here, she's our customer service side. What did she talk about, right? What did she leave a note on? What do we need to be aware of on that side? Carl gets in, he's our technical expert. What did he talk about on the phone with our client? What kind of technical problem did we have? And then again, Bethany, we have here again, ultimately, what does she end up doing with this case? Other words, to give you a rough idea, this is obviously a test record here. I'm not going to share live information with our actual companies, but this gives you an idea of what this looked like and how this worked. Basically, it just took information and we compiled that information into one spot so it's centralized to see what the sales rep talked about. I do not have to click into the account to see the last time Bethany spoke with them. I do not have to click into any other open cases that Carl was a part of for the technical piece. So all these things get linked together, funnels that into one spot, and now the more I can stay on the customer service side, the more I can stay inside that case to solve that problem, the better it is for the company. I'm not clicking around, I'm not wasting time. It's all there. It's all available for me to be able to solve this problem, okay? So we built that new field. Obviously, to do this, you can't just create a field and then have information get populated in there. That'd be awesome if you could. You can't. You have to come up with some kind of automation to do that. And so the automation piece of it, what we're looking for is we're thinking through, when do we want this thing to happen? Well, in our case here, what we wanted to happen is anytime on the opportunity a new note was left or a task was created, we want to take that note or that task and take the information from it with the date it happened, the person who left it, and whatever they put inside that note, and push it over here to this open case. That way we have the last interaction from the opportunity. Same thing on the account, same thing on any related case. And you can just keep tacking on here, right, for whatever you want. But we wanted automation to look for that trigger point or that logic and say, anytime that thing happens, push this information into this open case so that we have that information available to us in one spot so we don't have to go click around, okay? So that automation kind of looks like this. Again, this isn't real life. This is sample data. This is not going to be, well, we share a breaking an NDA with any of our clients here with information on their actual Salesforce. But this gives you an idea. This is what this looks like if you've never seen it. They kind of look like these things. If you're familiar with like lucid charts or flow charts, that's kind of what these things look like. But you hook them up on the back end You create these trigger points like we talked about, tell it what to do, when to do it, and it will take care of that automation like this for you. So we do that. And then lastly, we actually do build out flowcharts too. So before we do any of this, we build those out just so that we can see the process as a whole. So again, I go sit with Susan, and because I'm sitting with her, I can take notes and I can say, okay, Susan does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 every single time to solve this problem. What are those 5 steps? Well, it's, step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way through 5. What you want to do is you want to take that and put it on a lucid chart or a flow chart of some sort so that you as a business can view that information and then say, she's doing 5 steps. She maybe only needs to do 2. We could have, a manager do that, or we could automate this next piece and not really have to worry about that. So it allows your business to just get a little more doubled down on optimizing too. So this one's a really key moment as well for the business. So we write those out, takes time to do that. These two aren't probably as interesting to you, so I won't spend as much time, but just so you know the confidence here. What do we do after we build it? Well, we're going to test it, okay? Sandbox, if you're not familiar with that term, inside of Salesforce, you obviously have real life data telling you about your business. What we don't want to do is build something, test it, and have it screw that data up, right? Screw your business up, maybe erase things, maybe delete things, and then you never get that information back. That'd be horrible if you have any kind of individual do that to your business, right? You want to keep all that stuff safe. So a sandbox is another word for a test environment. So we can build a test environment in Salesforce. We create one. We go in there and we build all of these solutions first. What that allows us is we can test however we want. We can mess around as however we want because it's not real data. It takes a copy of your data and puts it into this test data. So we have your actual real numbers, but it's not real life. It just kind of allows us to test and use fake information so that we can do that. And that's, like this screenshot, this is fake information. This screenshot, this is fake information. I can build in here and do all this. It's not going to affect anybody's business, right? It's all fake. So we build it in a fake place so we're not screwing you up. UAT stands for user acceptance testing. It's just kind of a fancy way to say whoever asked us to build this, we just want to make sure that they test it and they make sure it works too. Because again, we can think through so many scenarios. They may have another scenario we didn't think through. So we want to double check ourselves and say, did it meet all those criteria and did it work in every situation that you wanted it to? Yes or no? So we do that. And then once we get the thumbs up from everybody, then we do this thing called deploy. Obviously, if it's in a test environment, we got to get it over into your real life environment, your what's called a production environment. So we take whatever we built in the testing, we put it over here, we activate it, and then we're going to test one more time over there to make sure it works the same way. Once we've done all that, that actually gets you to have this solution live. So the best part about this, I guess I should say real quick, is the reason I take the time to spell that out for you is to give you the confidence that we're not just coming in and creating some kind of solution and then just crossing our fingers and hoping it works. We're making sure that we test this out and build it in a way that is scalable for your business. We don't want to harm anything in your business. We want to make sure it works after we leave. And we want to make sure other people are aware of what we built, which is why we do, approvals and testing with other people. So we can leave you documentation and you would actually know what it's about. I've worked with a lot of consultants in the past, and it's kind of a common thing. What I've seen is that sometimes they'll come in and they build awesome work, but then nobody knows how to take care of it after they leave. So doing these extra steps allows you to know that, hey, after Simple Salesforce leaves, we actually will also know how to build this stuff out ourselves. They'll have videos on it. We'll have documentation, all that kind of stuff that we leave with you. Okay. Lastly, big sum up here. What did this actually do for the business? That's cool and all. You did this for these guys. What did they actually see? The big three here are things that every single business, including my own business, what we want to see happen every single time. You want to reduce your costs, you want to make more money, and you want to scale better and faster. Every single business in the world wants these three things to happen. And doing this solution allows you to do that. Massive cost reduction. You're going to make more because now they're more efficient. They can handle those cases better. They can get you more 5-star reviews. So you're going to obviously make more money as a business. And then because, again, we tested everything through so thoroughly with that solution, you have the confidence that whatever was built, it's there and it's reliable. So now you can build on top of that and have a more efficient running business. This took 7 days to complete, which is insane. We said this at the beginning, but 7 days. We're coming in and saving you all that money in 7 days. And that's the equivalent of what happened for this company. Giving us $1, we gave them 20 back on the amount of money they spent versus what we actually saved them.